All right, we're here with Brent Cobb. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to start by asking you have a new album, Keep 'Em on Their Toes, but you also recently had a car accident. How are you recovering from that? You were posting some videos on your Instagram back in September or August. The arm looks better.
I can do the chicken dance again.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign.
How you feeling? Good?
Pretty good, man. I have been better, but it ain't so bad, you know. It could have been a whole lot worse. My son was totally fine. We got T-boned and I broke my collarbone, pulled a ligament in my back, but we're good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, that's just scary. Does it make you appreciate the wins? Like you're releasing a new album, but then you have something scary happen that, puts stuff into perspective a little bit as you're kind of doing the career stuff, obviously.
Yeah, it did, but it's funny. I always thought that maybe I wouldn't live past 33, and then my birthday was August 1st, so this happened July 11th, and so like within the last 3 weeks of 33, I almost died. And who's to say? Maybe in one timeline I did die. I don't know, but it maybe in this timeline you just kind of pick up. And you keep getting chances. I don't know until you learn something. So
yeah. Why didn't you think you lived past 33? And why specifically 33? Or is that like a special?
I don't know. I don't know. I felt like in that when Jesus was, when that his like that's the peak of man is like the age of 33. And so I guess something deep down in me, just was like, what if?
I turn 33 next year, so I hope that's the peak. I hope it's not the end, but I hope it's the peak of my life.
Same. And I always tell my wife, like, I'm probably not going to live that much longer. Just to like
freak her out a little bit.
She's just like, why do you say that, you morbid bastard? And I'm just like,
well, I don't know. 34 feels great. I could tell 33 was the peak. That I'm on the way down now.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Do you celebrate when you release a new album? I don't know if, some of the mainstream big name guy, like they just churn them out. The album doesn't seem has lost some of its craftsmanship, I think, over the years with some of the money chasing. But I love when a true artist like yourself releases an album. When you finish, do you enjoy it? Do you celebrate it? Or do you just right away move on to the next project in your kind of creative mind? Or how does that kind of process for you work?
I celebrate it a little bit. It's, it just feels good to see how it's going to be, the reception's going to be, and it just feels good to see it all sort of come to fruition and see what sort of life it's going to take on as it's out into the world. But it's hard for me to write anything else until whatever I have been working on gets released. So I can't really, I can feel songs for the next album bubbling right now within, but I'm just getting to the point where I can sit down and they kind of start coming out.
So do you conceptualize like a theme, so to speak, for each album? And then I got this one song in the back of my mind, but I don't think it quite fits right now. Or is it something where like, hey, you know what, throw it on there. Like it's still good.
I had not until this album,
yeah.
Other than just a feeling, but no like really definitive concept or theme had happened before until this album. And there's a song on this one called This Side of the River. And that was the first song that I wrote for this Keep 'Em on Their Toes. I didn't know that it was for a whole project, but once that one was written, I wanted to kind of hammer that in more, and kind of dial it in more.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely get that vibe from this album. That's why I kind of asked that. But then you also have this motto and this branding of country music for grown folks. Can you I think we kind of know what that means, but can you also just put it into words?
We love what that means, what we think it means, but
yeah, I don't know. I spent, and I still co-write on Music Row a lot with people and people all over, not just Music Row, Texas artists. And I've written with a lot of them over the years that'll say something like, oh, this song that we're working on, it sounds, a little too aged. It needs needs to sound younger. Can we make it younger? And whatever, some folks write that way. That's for the market. But I've always just sort of written. I don't know. I feel like that it doesn't have to. Country music for grown folks can be an old soul. You don't have to be 30. You don't have to be over peak age of 33. You can you can be, whatever. You be an old soul if you think a little bit more about things, and it's not just about drinking a beer on a tailgate. Why are you drinking that beer on the tailgate? What makes it so poetic? I mean, that's what country music.
The way you just said that is one of the most intellectual things we've heard an artist say in a while. Is like, not drinking on a tailgate, but why you drink on a tailgate. Like I feel like a lot of what's lost in the mainstream. There was like that really bad phase of, we call it bro country, whatever. It just didn't dig a little deeper, just a little bit.
Like peel back the onion a little bit
just
more.
A little bit, and it would have made probably a big difference, which actually kind of leads to a question I had. And you talk about some of the guys you write with, and somebody who back in the day, who's obviously a mega star now, is Luke Bryan, who you write with plenty of times, and have a song on your album, his album. Tailgate Blues is one of our favorite songs he's ever recorded that you wrote with Neil Medley.
Appreciate
it. It's funny because even people that don't like Luke Bryan today will still say he's always good for a few songs on an album that's like traditional, like country. You can't argue the fact that it's country, but he still kind of does his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you draw the line anywhere with when you write? Or I think a lot of people would be surprised to even find out that you do write with him that don't know much about the kind of backstory with that stuff. So
we're all from the same area, sort of, and even if we're not from geographically the same area, we're all from the same sort of way of life. But I have always been, I don't know if it's because I was raised by a songwriter, or what, but I've always been more, again, I don't mind writing about that stuff. I just think that there's a way to write about it that isn't exploiting it. And so that's what I've always tried to do that. Even with Tailgate Blues, it has a lot of the same phrases. It talks about the crickets, it talks about sitting on tailgate and a Dixie cup and all that stuff. But it was more important to me about being, the moon covered by moss. And the reason you're down there is because you feel so alone. But that's good. You want to kind of dwell in your loneliness for a little while, and what is around you while you're inside of that physical and metaphysical loneliness.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then that's the thing that resonates with people. It's like, shit, man, I've been there. Like, I know what that feels like.
Totally.
And like, you want to, so Luke Bryan's singing it, so it doesn't make it more or less true. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of the thing where that song to me has always been, I think, Luke Bryan's best song. Which is,
I know. I tried to, I wasn't I'm not that I wasn't confident, but I wasn't arrogant as I should have been more arrogant in those days. And Luke, I don't know if you remember, but during that time, he released a series of videos that were like, I don't want this night to end. And you got your, I don't remember all those songs, but they were all linked together in a video of falling in love with this girl.
That's when he went like this, though.
Like the career went like this.
But what's crazy is, so he did this video series that they all linked together. The same girl, they fell in love, they hung out, she left him, and then the series stopped. And I was like, bro, I got the perfect next single, man. But I didn't say that.
It's because that gives you a big old paycheck,
right? But it's a funny thing because as fans, I think a lot of times we even always approach this as fans. We run a business, we do these things, but it's our voice, it's our opinions. But I always heard that song and thought, this is a smash, big hit single for Luke if he ever would have released that.
Yeah, I thought that was the
100%. Like there's zero.
I don't look at it, especially then, don't look at it as a paycheck, but I did look at it just from a specifically artistic point, creative point of view. It was like, man, this would be so good for this whole storyline and for the.
Totally.
And I love that song too. I thought he did a great job on it, and I was proud as shit for him to even do it. And yeah, that was, I don't know why it didn't happen. I've never had a single, by the way, so I don't know.
You will, and I almost wonder with that song, it's almost one of those songs you've seen it from time, not that often, but where a single doesn't, or a song doesn't get released, gets recorded by a couple of different people, and then somebody eventually does release it as hopefully as a single. I could see somebody else. I don't know how that works now with
things used to be that way. People,
Yeah,
it's like an unspoken rule now.
and now it's like, okay, you
People-
can't touch it
Yeah.
again, but it's like re-record it in like a whatever way. Like I still feel like that song is just the tempo and like it has the messaging for the radio crowd that I think they would be like, oh, but it's like we talked about, it's so much deeper and better than your average.
Well, I mean, how many different versions of Me and Bobby McGee were there back in the day?
Right?
You know, it's like 7 versions all at the same time. I don't know why that doesn't exist anymore.
I totally, I miss that so much. I'm like back in the day, it was like, I'm gonna sing your song, you're gonna sing my song, we're gonna sing each other's songs, like so and so is gonna cut this song, and it's like,
well, we had to
let's just do that again. Like, let's get everybody on
Tennessee
stage.
whiskey. Every time we wrote about it with Chris Stapleton, we had to always, because the people on social media would talk shit like, you guys know this is George. Who recorded it first, or David Allen, like
Yeah.
all these
Right.
things. Okay, yeah. Not every time we post a song, we have to say David Allen Coe sang it. Here's
Right.
the video from like back in the day, and then when George Jones sang it, here's a video from back in the day.
Well, even with
Y'all getting hung up on the trivial shit. That's what
people are just like, because they get angry if you post Chris Stapleton apostrophe S Tennessee whiskey. Oh, like no.
Well, isn't it the same talk with politics right now too? Is everybody just gets so hung up on what the what the message is instead of actually doing anything that changes any fucking thing. So it's the same same sort of deal.
Take what the message is supposedly standing for, and you as a person do good for your community. It should be kind of the thing. Instead, it's not. Instead, it's just go on Twitter.
Everybody just back and forth all the time. I know, getting hung up on the little stuff.
the bullet points
Yeah.
and the talking points. I mean, you kind
We
of
see eye to eye with you.
you kind of touched on some of that stuff with Shut Up and Sing and Soapbox, and you kind of, but in such a way that's like tangible and relatable, not without being preachy, but just kind of.
It's not demeaning either. It's not demeaning in a way that comes
I
off.
don't think people are stupid. Some people that like to have something to say think that the people are stupid. I don't think that. I just think that everybody is a human being, and I don't know. Like, I don't know why anybody feels the need to preach at anybody about anything or tell anybody how to live in any way. You know what I mean? It's just, come on, let's just we're all smart. We're all intelligent people here. Let's all.
You go
Maybe.
on Twitter.
Have you been on social media lately?
Yeah.
Oh my God, some of the stuff people send us, dude. I don't even.
Well, I think about, like, I'm a dad and I got 2 young kids, and my children are not dumb, but sometimes you can't just holler at them. You can't just be like, that was a dumb move, why'd you do that? You got to kind of be like, hey, maybe think about it like this.
Yeah. What was your thought? Exactly. Like I just had a son 6 months ago, my first child.
Oh, congratulations, man. God, y'all are probably just now starting to get sleep again, aren't you?
We lucked out. He was sleeping through the night at 7 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. Our doctor said don't tell anybody because they get pissed off. So, but the funny thing is like now we're getting to the fun phase where he's kind of having more of the mannerisms. So when I think about that stuff too, it's like you think about your childhood and like what you don't want your child to kind of, the way you don't want them to view things that happen, and also the way you want them to view things that are happening in like a more intellectual, independent thinking. Like, don't let other people's bullshit affect the way you kind of like take a situation and like think about it. And it's like, he's too young, obviously, to explain that, but like as he gets older, it's like you let them figure it out.
Let's figure it out. Sure, it's gonna be their life someday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, You got to figure it out. It's the same way with anybody. You know, sometimes there are a lot of things that I grew up thinking one way and I was grown already, still thinking certain ways. And then it still took me, 12 years to maybe be like, I don't know, maybe I don't feel that way about whatever it was I always felt
Oh, totally.
a certain way. So you can be grown and still, reevaluate your thought and your heart. And I don't know, but I still don't believe in shoving any message down anybody's throat, because who the fuck am I,
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Well, yeah, and then people like they're impressionable and they're malleable and they change. And I feel like that's like we live in this like political climate where it's like, oh, you flip-flopped on this, and it's like maybe that's a good thing. Do you ever like consider that? Like maybe I changed my mind for the better. Maybe I was stubborn and stupid and hard-headed in one way, and maybe I learned and I grew. And I feel like we don't embrace a lot of growth these days. It's kind of more like, well, you were this when you were 14, you tweeted this. Like, let's cancel you.
Right. Yeah, remember when we just we'd have to sit around the coffee table or something in the morning with whoever, family or whoever, and you kind of hash it out.
Yeah.
And then later on by supper time, you're fucking hanging out again. It's not even, there's no canceling. There's another song, When You Go, on the new album that it's not about just my family. It's about us as a family, all of people, all around this philosophical kitchen table eating crow. And you can call it chicken if you want to, but it can't take whatever it is, your pride with you when you go, and let's fucking figure it out around the table together, shit.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think that's the thing too. Like, even we talk about like so much stuff going on with political differences right now and such the landscape we're living in. Like, you just sit at a dinner table together and you eat some good chicken and biscuits and shit. Like, you're gonna start being friends pretty quickly. Like,
yeah,
I think a good meal is how people come to know each other and come to find common ground. And and music is another one. Obviously, music is another thing that brings.
Well, see, that's the thing. Music is it's not the physical, actual definition of food, like sitting around the table. But let's say that's what kind of sucks about right now is we're not able to do concerts. But that would be the not physical kitchen table, but if a venue where we go and play music and everybody comes in and you enjoy the meal, which is music. That's good for the soul. It's good for people to just enjoy the meal together.
Yeah, you get a couple drunks in the crowd every now and then, but for the most part, when those lights come on, everybody's friends. Like, we're all
most of the time, maybe not all the time, but that's crazy uncle.
I mean,
sometimes you gotta go out back and have a talk around the fire with your crazy uncle after dinner.
Yeah. You brought up the concert thing, and as we kind of ask everybody we've had on the last 6 months. I mean, I think we both noticed like a very similar attitude with every artist you talk to, and they're all different people. Kind of there's now this immense frustration with the way things are being handled with like live shows and how you can do them and how you can't. Nothing's cohesive is kind of the easiest way to describe it. There's no central path to like, here's how we're going to do it. Here's how it's going to go. Here's how we're going to plan it out. How are you looking at the future with like the live show element? Are you just kind of like, I hope it facilitates itself into a way that's easy for everybody to adapt to? Or are you kind of just like, who knows when, and who knows how?
I'm letting the younger artists that don't have children and a whole family, I'm gonna let them all be the guinea pigs and let them all figure it out first. And then once they got a clear path figured out, then I'll pick back up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've been fortunate to have personally, I've had a pretty cool year professionally. And I've been able to be at home with my kids the whole time and my wife. And so I miss touring and I miss playing, but I'm also very cool with I've been able to watch my son turn from baby to toddler, and that's been awesome. But yeah, I hope to tour sooner rather than later, but I don't know, and I'm not in a hurry. So I'll let I'll let the younger ones figure it out.
Has it been weird putting out an album during this? Because normally you kind of want to tour around an album and get that out there for the people.
Yeah. A little. This album was different though. If I'd have put out Providence Canyon this year, it probably would have been a little more strange. But
yeah,
somehow, so we recorded this album in December last year, and I didn't know that it was gonna be as kind of right on the nose as it wound up being.
right.
And as this year progresses, it's gotten more and more relevant. So it almost didn't even need tour support, really. You know, it's sort of. But any other album, if it would have been any other album, I don't know that it would have been that way. So,
I was just gonna say, and like speaking of recording, and like Dave Cobb is obviously a cousin of yours, and he doesn't produce your records though. Like, is there a element of like, I don't want to work with family, or you guys not necessarily that close? I know you didn't meet him until you were like 16 or 17, right?
Yeah, I was 17 or 18, but we recorded my first album together, and we did Shine on Rainy Day together, and we did Providence Canyon together. And then on this one, we tried to get our schedules linked up, but I would be on tour, and then when I would be in town, he'd be with somebody else. We just kind of couldn't make it happen. I knew I wanted to get it recorded. And I have known Brad Cook, who wound up producing it for a long time. And he just was the dude. I love his work, and we had never worked together before. That's really all that happened.
I feel like schedules is something that people don't necessarily understand. They just see, oh, Brent's not working with Dave on this next one. Like, ooh, has he got family?
What's happening? Scandal. Yeah, I don't know. There was none of that.
You've written with Miranda. We talked about Luke already. You do a lot
of. Is it weird if I have a
no.
label in this?
No.
I mean, that might help actually us get it. We're talking to some brands, so hopefully.
Yeah.
that should be the picture.
That'll be.
We always look for the cover photo of the podcast, so that's the one for you right there.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to. Yeah, I've been talking. Miller Lite sponsors every damn body, but
right, not us and not you apparently.
Whiskey Myers. We got to talk to you more. Whiskey Myers. Talk about a great band and rock, whatever. They're big Miller Lite guys, and Miller Lite though takes care of their people. That's what we realized. They put us in a suite in Soldier Field for the Rolling Stones concert.
Yeah, we saw the Rolling Stones at Soldier Field. Whiskey Myers open.
Oh, y'all were at that?
Yeah, dude.
I was on tour with them when that happened, and we had to cancel a couple days for them to go open for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. That shit was really cool and like really surprising. We didn't think that we were going to get that kind of treatment.
But then Miller Lite takes care of people, man.
Yeah, I've known those guys forever, man.
Oh, they're
Whiskey Myers.
That's for me right now. If I had to listen to like one country, Turnpike's amazing, and I hope Evan can figure it out. And it looks like he's finding his way, which is awesome. But like just currently, Whiskey Myers, my go-to, like sad, happy, want to have a drink, want to do this, want to get it. Like they're just, and then Yellowstone, the show has helped that so much.
That helped me too.
Yeah,
I don't want to sound like I'm bragging right now. Well, one of my first cuts ever was by Whiskey Myers, bar guitar in a honky tonk crowd, and I wrote it when I was like 16 years old. Whoa. And I was playing. I had just moved to Nashville, and I was playing with Rowdy, Jason Cope. I'd been to LA and all of that, and when I would go to LA, I'd stay with Rowdy. Rowdy is now the co-founder of the Steelwoods, and he played electric with Jamie Johnson for 6 years. He's like my brother. That's who I would live with when I was in LA. But anyway, we were playing a show at the 5 spot in East Nashville. This is probably 2008 or 2009. And I played that song acoustic. And Leroy Powell, who played with Shooter Jennings during Put the O Back in Country and all those first 3 country albums, he was going to be working with Whiskey Myers. And he brought Cody Cannon to the show. And I played bar guitar. I didn't even meet him that night. And so they wound up recording it. And then like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years later, I was out writing with Wade Bowen in Texas, and we were somewhere like College Station, and he asked me if I'd open the show. And so I get out there with an acoustic guitar, and there's like 1,000 people out there not giving a shit about what I'm having to sing about. And right when I get done though, the first song that the house plays is Whiskey Myers bar guitar and a honky tonk crowd, and the crowd loses their minds. And I'm sitting there like the spotlight goes off, and I'm like standing there in the shadow after my little rinky dink set. I'm like, these motherfuckers don't even know.
I wrote that goddamn song.
That's gotta, I mean, it feels good, right? But it's gotta be kind of like, wait a minute, like.
It feels great.
Yeah.
Because I've always played the long game. I'm confident enough in my music and my songwriting that I believe that I'll have a legacy that maybe people don't know about at this moment. But I think someday I might be on my deathbed, but someday people will go, damn, I didn't realize old Brent did this and did that. And man, you know what? All his records were not so bad either. So.
No, I mean, you brought up LA. We were going to ask you about,
Yeah.
You're the furthest thing. I mean, we compare Nashville a lot. We live in Chicago. I'm moving to Colorado in a couple of weeks weeks. So I'm going to be over there by the mountains, and hopefully he comes soon. But we never moved to Nashville because the more we went, the more it just seemed like a mini version of Los Angeles a lot of times, right? It's just people looking over their shoulders, trying to be like, oh, how do I look in the coffee shop? How am I
trying to be
seen? I look? And that shit just for me immediately, like I just check out. I'm like, I can't. This environment is not comfortable. LA's that times a million, but it's spread out and it's a massive city. It's the second biggest city in America. How was living in LA or being there for an extended period of time, and then Nashville, and now you live in Georgia, which is a real slowdown for life. You live comfortably, quietly now with your family. So kind of how's that been?
For me, so LA was the first place I ever lived outside of my hometown in Ellaville, Georgia. And I was super young and I'd never flown on an airplane before. This first time I flew was to go out there. And I lived right in the middle of the shit. I lived on Willoughby and Vine, right in the middle of Hollywood. Yeah. And so it was weird, but not for any of those reasons. It was just sort of just a change of pace. And, I lived between two rival gangs, and there was like a drive-by one night. It was just kind of a wild experience I had never experienced. But as far as the germing, that kind of stuff goes, for me, it was always like, you might be in that environment, but it's whatever I, made of it. Like if I didn't, I could make the environment whatever I wanted it to be, So if I wanted it to be like LA, riding in a 96 Mustang down the road, listening to the Rolling Stones and like going to Venice Beach was LA to me, like is the way I was trying to create it in my mind, or something out of, like The Dude, like, I don't know. I tried to not think about it like Gurmy. And then Nashville was, I would try to make it, within my own mind, more like the feeling of To Beat the Devil, Chris Christopherson song, it was wintertime in Nashville down on Music City Road. Yeah. And, like walking the same alleys as all of those guys and like stumbling and up against the same walls coming out of a bar as those guys. But I didn't think about it. I just thought about it like historically. I didn't think about it as like, oh, everybody's looking for a celebrity, even though that's happening. Yeah. But I tried to keep my mind clear of that.
That's beautifully said. Because I think we've seen we haven't been in LA. I've never been, but like you kind of went to California.
I've been to LA a few times, and I get what I think I love it for like 2 or 3 days, and then I want to go out. But in those 2 and 3 days, it's just like, it's beautiful. Like at the end of the day, it's beautiful. Like the weather's perfect. Like, and if you're in Venice Beach, or Santa Monica, or somewhere where the beach is, like it's amazing.
I got a pretty funny story. I don't want to go over time. I'll keep telling stories if you let me. But
no, you go ahead.
I was living out there with a a guy named Kenny Kasich and Zach Kasich. They were both brothers, and they had a band called the Lug Nuts. They were from Yankton, South Dakota. And one time me and Kenny, he was like cowboy dude. Like he shoot horses and hung out with Billy Joe Schaefer, and he's badass guitar player, wild as hell. But we're riding around in this Cadillac that he had, and he's got his cowboy hat on, and we're chewing, and we're right in the middle. We're on Cahuenga in the middle of Hollywood, and we've got the windows rolled down, and we're listening to like Billy Joe Schaefer. I know he just passed, but this is all exactly the way it was going on. And so we're spitting tobacco out of the windows, you know, when we come to stop signs, and these LAPD pull us over because they think that we're drunk and that we're throwing up outside of the windows. And so we're like,
you're not used to
no,
it.
sir, we're just chewing tobacco, and they're like, we ought to write you a ticket for just being disgusting then. And we're like, Jesus, man.
You got a ticket?
No, they didn't write us a ticket. That's just what he said. He was like, we should just write you a ticket for being disgusting.
Well, I was gonna say, like, is the ticket then like some public indecent, like some weird, like public?
I don't know.
Oh man, that's funny.
Sounds so LA.
So unused to it.
Right?
But it's funny. It's like here in Chicago, we're big Cubs fans. I don't know if you watch baseball.
Hell yeah.
Dodgers just.
Yeah.
Dodgers, but
man, I saw a crazy video of that girl, Dodgers fan, falling off the back of a Jeep. Did you see that video?
Oh shit, I haven't seen that one
Man,
yet.
Derek Lewis shared it. It's crazy.
But it's funny, you would go to like a game, you walk by or right behind home plate. Speaking of chewing tobacco, like all these rich dudes that are like executives at these big like Fortune 500 companies, and the CFO, they're all dipping. They're all just together, all the guys in their suits. Their wives don't know they dip, so they're trying to hide it with like the paper towels, and they're doing everything, and then they get them on TV, and it's like, I didn't know you did.
Yeah,
I've had that too, where like back in college we did, and then we stopped. But then it's like you do one every once in a while, every red moon or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just the body stops working, and I just fall into my chair. My legs don't work. My back stops functioning. My spine loses all of its nervous abilities. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? How much did you drink? I'm like, I didn't drink. Like, I drank enough to make.
I'm just buzzing, man.
That's a horse tranquilizer. That's a horse tranquilizer. Back in college, if you didn't dip regularly, you took a dip after drinking, you had to get carried home. That's how
I started. I started really young. I'm ashamed to even say, but I started like at 12 years old. And I remember my buddy Lynn Holloway. We used to have this thing in Richland, Georgia. It's called the Pig Fest, and it was a big barbecue cookout. And so we were there, and we were running around. And he came up. And he brought these two girls that we were trying to date, and he said, "Man," he walked up. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm a little loose. I'm buzzing though. I just took a dip out." And I was like, What do you mean you're buzzing? I didn't even know about that. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Yeah. And so then I was like, well, let me get one then. And so I've been doing it ever since.
Are you like an old school baseball guy where you do it all the time, or do you just do it when you want to? Like
I do it pretty often. I need to get a better hold of it. Really.
Yeah. There's new stuff, right, that can kind of give you a similar thing that supposedly doesn't have the you don't want.
I don't know about that.
I think there's stuff that supposedly should give you some of the effects without you got kids now. You don't want to risk some of the.
I know.
Thing. Yeah. But it's like, for me, it's like I just started smoking, edibles or weed, or smoking edibles or weed for like that stuff, and that helps me so much mentally.
I want to know what the stuff is you're talking about. This dip.
No, I think they have
like nicotine patches that don't quite have.
But they still form it
like snooze kind of.
Yeah, something.
But you need like 12 of them probably to get a similar buzz. I think I think that is the thing. They go no spit. So then you put it in, you put one in, I feel nothing, you put two in.
Well, I'd rather just do the real thing. I'll quit someday.
You walk around like this.
You got the horse.
But yeah, that's funny. That shit'll knock you out though.
Yeah. And speaking of things that work like that, you wrote a song on your new record called Little Stuff. You use some other substances, I've heard in a Rolling Stone article.
Yeah, I eat a lot of mushrooms.
I need to.
Huh?
I need to.
Man, they're great for you, man. You don't have to go over the rainbow. You can, it's good, man. I think weed and mushrooms should be available, and that you should be able to get, you should be able to be told what your dosage should be.
Yeah.
My wife is a pharmacist, and they're very good for your mental health and for like anxiety and just a shit ton of stuff. And my wife, if a lot of people had somebody, a pharmacist, that was able to tell them, like, hey, this is your dosage chart, and this is the psilocybin that you'll be taking, and we recommend this, and here's your prescription for psilocybin. I just think it'd be so good for everybody, because it also opens your frontal lobe, and it helps you to feel empathy, and I think they're wonderful. Now you can also go, you can talk to the spirits too, but you don't have to.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and like Joe Rogan, and he talks about psilocybin and DMT all the time, and we're fans of his and listen to him. And I for me, weed and edibles have helped me so. It became legal in Illinois like a year ago, but it's incredible what it does. Like last night's a great example. Just a tweet. Like I was creative blocks, sat there, was like about to take a shower, cleaning up the kitchen. Baby went to bed. Kind of frustrated that I couldn't think of something I wanted to tweet that I was thinking about. Took 2 hits of the weed pen. Boom, tweet just came to me beautifully. Went in the shower, was thinking about other stuff. Like everything became more like crisp and clear. And then but there's still this element, whether it's family or friends or some certain people, it's like you still got to explain it. Like, this is not a drug.
Stigma.
This is like a thing that everybody should be able to have access to and want to take, because for me,
just like Tylenol or something.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not that accessible, but you should be able to.
You can die from Tylenol. You take too much Tylenol, you're gonna die. Your liver's gonna stop.
That's what I'm saying.
You're not gonna die if you take too. I think it was Chris Rock who had the best. I want to say it was him, where he was talking about nobody ever died from smoking too much. Just that. Well, because you think he's dead, but then he wakes up and eats everything in your house. That's it.
Right.
That's the worst.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. That's it. It's like let their minds kind of blow up and then come back to reality, and then you kind of come out of that and go, oh shit. I'm
totally. Well, it's like people get scared of a bad mushroom trip, and they happen. But what's amazing about a bad mushroom trip is you still come out the other side not hungover, and you have learned something even after a bad one. You feel you've learned something, and
your vulnerabilities are kind of like put to the forefront. So if I smoke too much, and I start getting paranoid about a thought in my life about something, I go, I'm not paranoid right now. I'm more
recognizing
my body.
It's something you needed to pay attention to.
My brain is recognizing that I'm panicking too much about something that doesn't matter.
Right.
It's kind of, so it's cool that you said that. So. I'm trying to get this guy to do more of it. It's legal. People are still confused that it's legal here. It's like, you can just go do it in front of a cop. They can't do anything to you. Yeah. People are like, oh, what? Like, I'm like, no, you can just go do it.
Right.
I mean, is Tennessee ever going to do that, or
Georgia?
Like, I don't know. Who knows, right?
Hard to say.
Politics,
baby. Maybe the next album will be maybe the next album it'll be all about this.
Politics, baby.
Put it out in 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I mean, thank you so much, Brent, for coming on, man. This has been so much fun.
Thank y'all.
As real of a dude as we thought you would be.
Honestly, dude.
It's been such a pleasure hanging out. hopefully,
Thank y'all for giving a shit and doing
Oh.
what you do every day. So
We're gonna
So
keep
very much
sharing your
appreciate
music. We love it, and we love it
Thank you.
even when you're not the singer. The stuff you're writing is awesome too. So it's
Thank
listen,
you.
share it.
hopefully we can get out to a show sometime in the near future, and then
Someday.
we'll do this in person again and
Yeah.
do a real podcast the way it's supposed to be done. But
Absolutely. We'll let Billy Strings and Marcus King, we'll let them figure out that path, and then
yeah,
and then once they got it figured out, we'll see y'all down the road.
Absolutely.
absolutely,
Cheers.
man.
Yeah.
Take it easy, bro.
I sent you a message about getting some mushrooms.
You sent me a message?
I was joking. I'm going to send you a message about getting mushrooms.
Yeah, send it. I can hook you, especially in your area.
All right, let's do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Y'all take it easy.
Take care of the family. Say hello.
Will do. You too, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
See y'all.